After shuffling the deck thoroughly, roll the dice to determine which player will go first. Deal a hand of 6 cards to each player. Split the deck into 2 draw piles in the middle of the table, with room between the draw piles for 2 discard piles. You'll have 1 discard pile for troop cards and 1 discard pile for tactic cards. Lastly, flip a card from the draw pile to create a troop discard pile, and you're ready to play. If you flip over a tactic or a wild card, just keep drawing until you find a troop card, and then shuffle the revealed cards back into the deck. Now that the game is set up, you're ready to play. On your turn, you must perform 1 action, and you may play 1 tactic card. It doesn't matter in which order you do these 2 things. You can perform your action first, or you can play a tactic card first. Let's start by talking about actions, since you're required to perform 1 action every turn. There are 4 different actions that you can take. The most common action is to make a platoon using troops from your hand. Make a platoon by combining a pair of matching troops, or by combining any troop card to make a pair with a wild card. These 2 cards match, so I can lay them down as a pair to make a platoon. On a future turn, when I make another platoon, I will lay it down perpendicular to my previous platoon. The second action you can perform is to make a platoon using the discard pile. If the top card of the discard pile matches a troop card in your hand, you may use it to make and play a platoon. These 2 cards match, so I can lay them down as a pair to make a platoon. The third action you can take is to attack an opponent's top platoon in an attempt to steal the platoon away from them. We'll talk more about this in a little bit. The fourth and final action option is to discard and draw. If you're ever unable to create a platoon or attack an opponent, you can always choose to discard 1 or 2 cards and then draw that same number of cards from the draw pile. Now that we've covered actions, let's talk about tactics. In addition to your required action, you may also play an optional tactic card. Tactic cards look different from troop cards. They have a black border and additional text. To play a tactic card, simply lay it down and do exactly what the text says. Tactic cards give you a wide variety of additional opportunities. Some allow you to draw additional cards, others allow you to take an additional action, and many tactic cards allow you to frustrate or slow down your opponents. Play your tactic cards wisely to gain advantages in your race to build the biggest army. Remember, it doesn't matter if you perform your action or play a tactic card first. Think through your options to score the most points and do the most damage to your opponents. Speaking of doing damage to your opponents, the primary way that you'll hurt your opponents is through the attacking action. Let's go back and take a quick look at attacking and stealing. To attack an opponent, I would play a card that matches my opponent's top platoon from my hand or from the top of the discard pile and place it near my opponent's army. My opponent then has a decision to make. They can admit defeat and allow me to steal their platoon, or they can attempt to defend. To defend against my attack, my opponent must play either a card that matches the platoon I'm attempting to steal, or they can play a wild card. My opponent chose to defend their platoon by playing a spearman of their own. Now I have a choice to make. Just like my opponent, I can concede defeat, or I can continue the battle. I'm all out of spearmen, but I do have this wild card, so I'll use that to continue the battle. Now, if my opponent chooses to continue the battle, they have to respond by playing a card of equal or greater value. He cannot play another spearman. He must play a wild card of equal or greater value. Players go back and forth in this way until one player cannot or will not continue the fight. The winning player takes the platoon and all of the cards played to attack and defend. At the end of the turn, the current player draws back up to 6 cards, and then any other players who played cards that round also draw back up to 6 cards. Remember, you cannot attack a player's bottom platoon. You may only attack opponents who have more than 1 platoon in their army. Play continues clockwise with players making platoons, attacking, defending, and playing tactic cards until the draw pile is depleted. When the deck is out of cards, play continues until all cards in your hand have been played. If you cannot make a platoon or attack an opponent, then you must discard a card. Play continues until all players are out of cards. When a player runs out of cards, their turn is skipped, and the other players continue playing until no cards remain. Determine your final score by adding up the total power of all the troops in your army. The winner is the player with the highest score. Congratulations, you just learned how to play Soldiers of Fortune.